Hey folks, welcome back to the Portable Gamer. Welcome back to Euro Truck Simulator 2, and welcome to Zelenogradsk on the Baltic Sea. Man, I didn't think I would be learning this much about geography playing a video game. Yes, Zelenogradsk. So we came down here to Cherniakovsk on our last trip. Just picked up some apples, and we're going to take them down to Łódź in Poland. Loads? I'll say it wrong. Trust me, I'll say it wrong. We did swap out our truck, as you can see, to our DAF 105. I love it. Love this truck. It's got great sound, too. So I may take a break from talking now and then just so you can hear this truck talk a little bit because it sounds great, I think. I think it does. Ready? Here we go. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. In fact, I even need to turn this down in my headset a little bit. Right. How far we got to go? You know what? I don't even care. I don't even care. Let's just drive. So today is Sunday for me, Monday for you. It is finally Memorial Day weekend. I got it wrong last week. I skipped a week somewhere. Thought it was Memorial Day weekend in the U.S. I thought it was Memorial Day weekend last weekend. It was not. So Grand Prix of Monaco comes on in about half an hour. And then almost directly after that is the Indy 500, and then almost directly after that is the 600-mile race from Charlotte Motor Speedway. So it's going to be a full day of racing for Ill Will. Here we go. Oh, love the sound. Love the sound. So early this morning, I put my girl on a plane for Los Angeles. She's gone for 10 days, so the timing works out. Because she likes racing, but I don't know if she likes like 10 hours of racing in a row. That's new. Have I seen that before? Oh dear. Have I seen that before? Have we seen a pedestrian crossing a street? I can honestly say, I don't know if I've ever seen that in this game before. But I like it. And I'm almost positive we are in a Pro Mod city right now. I don't think this is represented in base game. Could be. Wow, this is some traffic. We were having the same problem yesterday in ATS, leaving our little truck stop. Here we go. Carefully. Carefully. No tickets. No damage. No whammies. Got it. So yeah, it's going to be a productive 10 days for me. I'm always a little bit more productive when I'm on my own, and that's one of those things that once you get to be adulting, once you know what I'm saying, you realize things like that, and it's like, oh, I should be better at adulting, but you know what? It is what it is. So I'm looking forward to a super productive 10 days, and I'm going to start today by doing nothing but playing video games and watching motorsport on TV. So, off to a great start. What else is going on? We are still in 1.34. Now, in a previous, either ATS or ETS video, I wondered, because 1.34 is out in full release. The 1.34 patch is fully public. It's not beta. Obviously, if 1.35 is in beta, then 1.34 is an official release. 1.35 has DX11 support, and I was wondering if they didn't send out like an ancillary patch to 1.34 to also bring DX11 right into the 1.34 patch. But I noticed today when I was starting the game in Steam, because you get that additional dialog box, do you want to start in DX, do you want to start in OpenGL, do you want to start in VR, etc. And now it specifically says, do you want to start in DX9 64-bit? I don't recall ever seeing the DX9 before. I know there was 64-bit. That was dicey. It really was. I know it always asked if one of the options was 64-bit or 32-bit, but I don't recall specifically seeing DX9. So I think it's possible that they have patched 1.34. Even though it's in full release, they have patched it, but they've sort of locked it into DX9 now, because DX11 is available in 1.35. Does that make sense? Like, they would need to lock it in 1.34 to prevent conflict. But if I were to start the game in 1.35, I'm curious if I would see DX11 64-bit rather than DX9. We'll see. We'll see. Time will tell. But that was something that I was curious about, and I think I have my answer. And, moment, concentrating. And I'm trying to think what else is new. I'm in a weird kind of gray zone right now, because let me tell you about mods and patches. And you may know this, you may not. But when the game goes into either ATS or ETS, when it goes into a beta patch, and all the modders are bringing their mods up to that new patch, for the most part, mods are backwards compatible. So if you're running 1.34 with 1.34 mods, the game goes 1.35 beta. The modders patch their mods up to 1.35. They'll still work in 1.34. Mostly. Depending on what the patch was, there may be things that are not compatible with the previous. So essentially what I'm saying is, when I went into the 1.35, start again. When I went into the 1.35 patch for the first time, we got it. When I went into the 1.35 patch for the first time, I had mods that were not compatible. Not a problem. I went back to 1.34. Regardless of what patch I'm in, modders are fixing their mods, so it's possible that at some point I will fire up 1.34 and I will see mods that were previously 1.34 compatible are now no longer 1.34 compatible. So generally you get the exclamation point, sometimes you do not. So as much as I'm trying to hang on to this 1.34 profile because it has trucks that I really love, until we can take this profile into 1.35, between now and then, it may become 1.34 incompatible, at least with the mod configuration that I have. It's happened to me once before. So, we'll see. We'll keep an eye on things. We will observe and monitor. Or monitor and observe. Well, whatever. We'll figure it out. You know what? It's a video game. I saw on my Discord today, which you're welcome to stop by and join us in. Link is in the description below. I'm still not used to saying that, because that's such a YouTuber thing to say. I'm just not used to saying it. But if you don't crash. If you want to stop by, you're more than welcome. I saw in the Discord some people were talking about a little bit of drama in FS19 about mods and modding and who's doing what and this, that, and the other. And I read that, and I'm not taking any sides, and I'm not calling anybody out. It is fascinating to me to see people get fired up about the things they get fired up about. And I'm not talking about my folks. Everybody in my Discord is cool. I've got no drama and no troublemakers, but observing drama from other places and realizing that people get really fired up about this video game. And then I realize, you know what? There are things in life to get fired up about, but a video game is not one of them. And here's my test. Whether or not something is worth fighting about. If it went away completely today, would your life be any different? And I'm talking about really different. I'm not talking about like, what you do after you have your tea. I'm talking about, would your life really be different? And yeah, there are things that the answer to that question is yeah, my life would be profoundly different. Maybe my family wouldn't be as safe. Maybe my kids wouldn't have as much to eat. Maybe they wouldn't be able to go to the college that I was planning on sending them to, or whatever. Big stuff, important stuff, life stuff. But video games, if I could not game anymore, I think for a few days I'd be kind of, all right, this was something that I did every day. Now what? And you know what? I'd find something. I'd spend more time at the gym, spend more time running around the woods, anything. Spend more time working, making money. I don't know. But it wouldn't, I'd get over it fairly quickly. And then you think about something like, the people in your life. If they went away, how would that affect you? Would you notice that? Oh, you'd really notice that. Really, really notice that. So, I guess what I'm getting at is, as much as we enjoy gaming, and as big a part of our life as it may be, I think, well, you can do whatever you want, you know that. You're grown up, you can do whatever you want. But for me personally, I'm never going to fight about a video game. I'm never going to get... You know, I get frustrated about Farm Sim, but that's tongue-in-cheek. I'm having a good time. I'm laughing about that. Because it is kind of silly. But the idea that people would, you know, say hurtful things or be rude to one another or get that fired up about a video game, not me, man. No way. If you feel a certain way about Farm Sim or Truck Sim or Race Sim or anything, that's cool. I completely respect your opinion. We can agree to disagree. But if you want to get fired up about it, if you want to bow up on me and say hurtful things, then I guess the conversation's just going to have to be over, because I'm not going to fight with you. That fascinates me that people do that. I'm so mad right now. This traffic jam, it's just making me want to fight. No, it's not. What's going on up here? Oh, there we go. I don't know if that was a little glitch in the AI or if that was some realism. Showing the papers. Let me see. We're leaving Russia and we're going into Poland already? Maybe. But anyway, it's just on my mind. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not specifically calling anybody out, and I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm just making the observation, like, man, people get so fired up about this game, and it's like, you just don't have to. You know, it's just a game. It's just a game, and it's optional. It's elective. We play it because we want to, not because we have to. I am liking this pause, though. You know what I mean? I'm digging that. Everybody else has been stopping here, so I'm going to stop here. And it's very possible that in Polish that says stop here. I don't know. I don't speak Polish. Ready? Here we go. So what else is going on? I just saw a mod for FS19. I don't know how long it's been out. When I went to the GitHub, I saw that it's been being worked on for quite a while, but I don't know when it became usable, you know, because it's still beta. But it seems to be. I always choose my words carefully, because I don't ever want to misrepresent somebody's mod or, you know, whatever. But it seems to be a combination of gearbox, drive control, more realistic, and keyboard steering. Maybe. But I've tried it, and initial testing indicates it's pretty cool. I'm very pleased with it so far. I think it's going to bring a lot of realism to the game. And one of my chief complaints about... A moment, please. I got to drop my lift axle. Drop my lift axle. Raise my lift axle. Drop my lift axle. There it goes. One of my chief complaints about FS19, I felt like it was a big step backwards. I felt like a lot of the mods that had been brought into the game... Oh, there goes my voice. It's been doing really good the past couple weeks. There goes my voice. You know what? Let me get the cruise control set. And then I'm going to have a sip of coffee and tell you about FS19. You know, because we're driving a truck. Why wouldn't you talk about Farm Sim? Trucking is when we talk about everything but trucking. Although we talk about trucking a little bit. A little bit. The sound of this truck, man. I really do love it. Right. Now, my coffee's on the opposite side of the desk. All right. Do this carefully. Here we go. Got it. It's phase 1. Got it. Okay. Beautiful. So, my big beef with FS19, I felt like it was a tremendous step backwards. They made the game blindingly bright, right? And they added a ton of lens flare, and horses, and a floating dog. And I felt like, okay, that's cool, you know. I guess those could all be described as good things, maybe, I don't know. But I felt like so many of the mods that had come into 17, that people had really embraced, did not get included. And I understand that with intellectual property laws and copyright and just respect for other human beings, that perhaps Giants didn't want to take a mod that somebody had come up with, right, and just take that code. And they certainly could have. I've talked before about reverse engineering and how that works, and you can do it all legal-like. In fact, if you want to know how to do it all legal-like, I am available for that type of consulting work. I think we want to go here, because we don't want to go straight. Yeah, I think we do. Okay. Yep. And then from here, where? It looks like straight again. Okay. Got it. So perhaps there's a noble reason why Giants didn't just take all those super popular mods from 17 and incorporate them into base game. And I guess there's different ways they could have done it. And one would have been to license the code from the mod maker. I kind of want to get around this truck. I'm feeling like he's a menace. Alright, we'll get her going here. Here we go. Oh dear. Concentrating. Got it. Okay. Slow it down a little bit here. Set the cruise control. There we go. So there's different ways the Giants could have done it. If, in fact, they were, oh dear, cheeky, come on, not going, not going. He's not going. We got it. This trip is a little, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if I'm just not used to this truck, but this trip is it's been a bit challenging so far. Right, so I don't know the specific reason why Giants didn't do that, and I am willing to give them credit for noble reasons, good reasons, but I'm also willing to not give them credit and say the reason they didn't bring those things into 19 is because they're just dumb and they don't care about their customers. It's a possibility too. I don't know, but that was my big disappointment with 19, is I felt like starting at the top, obviously with seasons, but then with more realistic and terrain control and some of the really popular, highly rated mods that, as developers, they had to know. They had to know people were really into those mods. With everybody being online now, and with Steam being what it is, I'm guessing that there is some kind of report feature from FS19 where, it's sending a file back to Giants. Nothing surreptitious. I'm not talking about like Alexa listening to your conversations. I mean just good customer service, that there is some type of feature in FS17 where, it reports back to Giants and says this is the list of mods that people are using, or this is the list of mods that this user is using. There doesn't even need to be a name attached to it. These are the mods that this player is using, and this is the number of hours that this player plays per week. And you put all that together, and again, this is what I do for a living. You put all that information together, and it spits out a file that says the average user of Farm Sim, 17 in this case, plays this many hours a week, and these are the most popular mods for the game, and etc., etc. And that's the sort of thing that I expect my clients to look at, and we call that actionable information. Data is just numbers. Information, that's numbers you can do things with. Actionable information. So I would tell Giants, use that information and incorporate those things into 19, because that's what people want. That's what they use all the time. And of course you make it possible to turn them on and off for console players, or for people that want to play more casually, or for people that just don't like that stuff. frustrating. But that there would at least be the option for serious players. And I've said 100 times, I feel like the delays and problems with cattle and crops really took the pressure off Giants to make a more realistic farm simulator. I feel like terrain deformation and better AI and a lot of those things that cattle and crops is really aiming for, I feel like had they been able to, I don't know, be maybe 12 months or 18 months ahead of where they are now, let's be a good trucker. I feel like if the cattle and crops crew was 12 months or 18 months ahead of where they are now, it really would have put good pressure on Giants to acknowledge that there is a segment of their customer base. What happened? Oh, okay, there we go. All right. We didn't quite crash, but everything seemed to be frozen. That if cattle and crops could sort of delineate that market segment, that Giants would have to recognize, like, yeah, there is a big chunk of very realistic sim farmers that are willing to pay for a game other than ours for no reason other than it adds realism. It has realism, and so we'll bring realism to our game. But with cattle and crops not being able to illustrate that, not being able to sort of stake out that part of the market for farm sim, Giants didn't have to. And I think that's the ultimate answer, is they just didn't have to make a more realistic sim, and so they didn't. And that's cool. That's their choice. But it's interesting for me to see now, which is the point of this long rant, it's interesting for me to see now that 6 months in, people are bringing in these mods that make the game what it was for us 6 months ago when we were coming off of FS17. So, good stuff there. It really, it's hard to explain. It's a subtle mod, and I'm talking about this this new vehicle extension mod. It's subtle what it does, but it's really, really important. I guess in the same way that Jazzy Cat packs are important in ETS, it doesn't really do anything that you can sort of obviously see, and yet it does something that really changes the way the game feels. Just to be able to see, and you can see it right now, all these different trucks that if we were not running Jazzy Cat packs, they would be, I don't want to say the same, but we would be seeing the same liveries a lot more often. And it gets to a certain point where even though you're not seeing it, you're seeing it. And we go exactly the opposite direction with the Jazzy Cat packs. We're not really seeing it, but it's there, and it's changing the way we feel about the game. So hearing a tractor run through the gears and hearing the turbo popping in FS19, something that I've never heard before, it's such a small thing, but it really adds to the game. And I think maybe the best example of it could be Shadows, because if you've been gaming for a while, you can remember a time when we didn't have Shadows. And I'm not joking. If you're young, if you're a pup and you have only been gaming for 5 years or 10 years, you might not remember a time when we did not have shadows in gaming. Like when you were outside in the world, there were no shadows. And at the time, we didn't know. We were just playing video games. But once developers began adding shadows, all of a sudden it's like, what were we thinking? How was that not a deal breaker? It's not that big a deal, but it really is. So there are a lot of things like that for me in gaming that until you notice that you're not noticing them, you don't notice them. But once you notice that you haven't been noticing them, you can't live without them anymore. And I think that's how it's going to be with that mod. In the same way that I did not play FS17 without gearbox, more realistic drive control, and what was the other one? I want to say there was a fourth sort of vehicle mod that I used, but I just got so used to it, and I know it drove some people crazy. You can see on the support thread for more realistic, people really fired up like, God, this makes the tractor so slow. And the response from the developer was, yeah, that's what it's supposed to do. Tractors go slow in real life, and if you try to haul more than that tractor is capable of hauling, it's going to go very slow, like 5 miles an hour slow. For a lot of gamers, that's more realism than they're looking for. And you can see, you know, go to any dodgy mod site, look around for a minute, you'll see somebody's posted a mod, you know, combine harvester with a 60-meter header that goes 100 kilometers an hour and has a 1,000,000-liter grain tank. There's some people who just like to play the game and have fun, and the idea of going 5 miles an hour, you know, what are you, out of your mind? Who would do that? Why would a person do that? And the way that I play, the way that people that I know play, the idea that you try to haul an overloaded tipper up a hill with too small a tractor, and not only will it stop, there we go, not only will it stop, but I mean, there's nothing that can be done. You actually have to unhook, leave your tipper there on the hill, drive that tractor back to your farm, get another one, a more powerful tractor, and go back, and that's the only way you can solve that problem that you caused yourself. Wow. By running a tractor that is either not powerful enough for that tipper, or overloading it, or whatever. You get what I'm saying. But you did that to yourself, and the way that we play realistically, you know, don't do that. Don't make that mistake. Be more careful. Use smaller equipment, whatever. But that to me makes the game challenging, when it is just full of limitations and problems to solve, rather than just painting fields. You know? And if you're into that, I say this all the time, because I really, it's not just that I respect gamers. I try to respect people in general. You know, you do you. You worry about you. And if you just want to, you know, sit down and drink a beer or smoke a bowl and paint fields in Farm Sim, more power to you, man. Hell yeah, I want you to be able to do that. But for me personally, I like the game to be a lot more limiting, a lot more restrictive, and force me to make a lot more choices. And I'm really grateful to the modders for bringing in these different features that allow the game to do that, because in base game, it ain't like that. So anyway, that was a bit of a rant. Hopefully it was positive at the end, but I'm super happy about the mods that I'm seeing for FS17. Sorry, for FS17, for FS19 right now. I'm really happy about the mods that I'm seeing, and I'm endlessly curious, and I will continue to be curious why it took so long, because there's a rumor, an internet rumor, that Giants like literally made it more difficult for modders to work with 19. Not that they intentionally designed the game to be difficult to mod for, but that they were not as forthcoming with information and the things that modders need to know to do this stuff. Liking those signs. It's looking really good. I like it. Yeah, that they just weren't as helpful, weren't as whatever, and who knows? Who knows? I mean, I continue to hear that there is like this bitter rivalry between Giants and the Cattle and Crops group. I don't know that. That is, to clarify, full disclosure, that is absolutely an internet rumor. I do not have information about that firsthand, so I'm not trying to stir up trouble or anything. That's what I'm told. So I wonder if there's not some kind of like palace intrigue, you know, corporate espionage, something going on. So who knows? Who knows? But for now, for the interim, mods are picking up, and you know, I joke about Stockholm Syndrome, that if FS19 is the only farm sim to play, then we'll play it, you know? And I don't know where I'm at with that sometimes. Part of me is like, yeah, well, what are you going to do? And another part of me is like, no, man, that is so not cool. That is so not cool. But the alternative is to make your own farm sim. You know, be the competition. I don't have $8 million laying around, but if I did, I do think sometimes that I might look for a developer, look for a publisher, look for some investors, and I might not make my own video game. I've got several ideas that I think could be viable, but that's the sort of stuff that, you know, there's a lot of vetting and there's a lot of proof of concept before you start writing 7-figure checks. And I think I would definitely want to see some focus testing and some POC work to determine if the ideas that I have for super cool video games are anything that would resonate with an audience. That's the first step. And then the second step is how long would it take to develop it, because I feel like ideal lead time for a video game is 18 months to about 30 months. I don't think you want to go any longer than that, because the market is too dynamic and people are changing, and there's other developers doing stuff. And let's reset our cruise control here. There's other developers doing stuff too. You have no idea what the landscape's going to look like in 5 years. You know, I mean, if you're a big enough developer, what is it, Days Gone that just came out? And that's PlayStation. Sony, I guess. Sony can have, I heard the lead time for Days Gone was 5 years, or some people say 6 years. GTA 6 has been in development for years. Red Dead Redemption 2 was 6 years, 5 years, was it not? Those are massive studios. They can do that because they determine the market, right? If I tried to make a video game, I would have no market influence. Zero. I would have to go where the market went. And if the market went somewhere different between when I started my game and when I released it, then that would just be on me. I'd be out of luck. So I would try to do it quickly, and I think 18 months is about the fastest you can do it, and 30 months, 2.5 years, is about the longest you would want to do it. But yeah, that would be my thing. I would do some focus testing with gamers. You know, get a booth at E3, maybe do some interviews and see if this is something that anybody would be interested in playing. And if the answer was yes, then yeah, I think I would do that. I don't know. As an investment, maybe not the best investment, but that's what they say about movies too. And video games are becoming the movies of our generation. I think the generations that have come before us have watched TV, and I feel like as gamers we're now playing TV. And games are getting good enough. You know, when I see something like Days Gone, we're gonna pull in here and end the episode, by the way. I don't know how far we are from loads, but what's this sign say? I think we're almost there. Let's just go ahead and head in. So when I see something like Days Gone, or Division 2, or what is it, Plague Tale: Innocence, when I see those, I think we're not that far removed from cinematic gaming, true cinematic gaming. And I'm talking about gaming where the gameplay and the cutscenes are identical. And I really feel like when we get to that point, the idea of watching TV or watching a movie or watching Netflix will be like right next to essentially playing a movie. And I'm looking forward to a time when I don't want to say everything is procedurally generated, but where, right, like way back in the day, way back when I can remember, games weren't cartridges, right? And hang on. There we go. Games weren't cartridges. Data, space, storage was very limited. And so a developer had to really be mindful of what they put in a game, because there wasn't a lot of room to put things in a game. And then we got to CD-ROM. Oh, game. Give it up. Then we got to CD-ROM, then we got to DVD, and then we got to high-cap DVDs, and now everything is delivered digitally. So the size of a game is really unlimited. And there's 50 gig games regularly, 50 gig games. And I believe at some point, inevitably, there'll be a 100 gig game. So what? You know, I have 2 terabyte hard drives on my machine. I have a SATA SSD and I have an M2 SSD. Sir? Oh, buddy. Alright. Got a lot going on right now. Hang on, let me get the wipers turned up. So I've got 2 terabytes of storage, right? And the idea that a single game could be 5% of 2 terabytes of storage is, wow, that's, man, time flies. Time flies. I can remember what a big file used to be, and it's certainly different now. That's cool. That's progress. You know, so it goes. But what I'm getting at is data and storage used to be so precious that a developer, anything that made it in there. Oh, game. This is all pro mods, I noticed, because we're testing a vanilla profile in 1.35 without pro mods, and we have none of these problems. So I think that's just pro mods unpacking some big files. Drives me crazy. Always makes me think the game is going to crash, but I don't know how to get away from it. I mean, I got plenty of RAM, and like I just said, I'm on all SSD. If that's pro mods loading a tile, it's just the way it's going to have to be. But developers were super cautious about storage, and everything that made it into the game had to be critical because there was so little. Like, there couldn't be any fluff in there. There couldn't be anything extraneous because everything was so critical. But I believe as games get bigger and bigger, and I mean, if you want to talk about like the ultimate future look, at some point they say internet will be fast enough that you won't even have a hard drive anymore. Not a local. You might have a little flash or something, but you won't have a local. You'll have basically a keyboard and a monitor, and your storage and your processor and your graphics card and everything will be remote. It'll be on a server somewhere. And rather than buying a graphics card, you'll just rent one that lives somewhere else. And you know what I mean? Your keyboard input or your steering wheel input or whatever will go to a processor, will go to a motherboard and a chipset and a graphics card in who knows where, right? Like a salt mine in Finland. And it'll do everything, and then it'll send it back to your monitor, but all the processing and all the graphics and everything will happen somewhere else. So at that point, data doesn't matter anymore. Storage doesn't matter because it's infinity. It's as much as it can be. So I believe what will happen at some point is things will be so procedurally generated. Games will have multiple forks. Hang on. Games will have multiple forks, like multiple forks. Oh no! Okay. And we missed it anyway. Uh-oh. We got big problems now. Big problems. Glad I checked when I did. And we really caught a break on traffic right there. There we go. So games will have so many forks and be so procedurally generated that, you know, forget about multiple endings. Games will have multiple beginnings, multiple middles, and many, many endings. And what it will mean is that you and I can play the same game, and it will be completely different. And I'm talking like completely different. Different story, different characters, different everything. And that's something that was not possible before, right? Because there just wasn't enough room for it. There wasn't enough room for that sort of thing, but there will be. And at that point, you know, like I was saying a minute ago, people before us used to watch a movie, and now we're cool, we're gamers. We play a movie. Straighten it out just a little bit more. But it's not quite there yet. We're not really playing a movie. You know, just because you got multiple endings and some cinematic cutscenes doesn't mean you're playing a movie. But we will be in another, I think another one more gen of gaming, maybe 2. And who knows, it could be sooner than that. It could be GTA 6. Could be the first game with exponential forks, where every single person who plays the game gets a, maybe not an entirely different storyline, but different enough. Holy smokes, I think we got it in one swing. No. We did. Right. Put it in neutral. Set the brake. Wipers off. Parking lights on. Engine off. Let's see how we did. Are we gonna level up? We might. We might. Oh, we're late. How late were we? 54 minutes. Not bad. Not bad. Okay. And okay, we got a little bit more to go. We're doing it. There you go, folks. Thanks for stopping back to check out the Portable Gamer. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Euro Truck Simulator 2. And we'll see you next time. Take care now.